And do we need to go through the roll call again?
Yes. Commissioner Neely?
Here.
Commissioner Mom? She's here. Commissioner Roth?
Here.
Commissioner Nacida?
Here.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Walters?
Here.
Commissioner Yates?
Here.
Commissioner Shaw?
Here.
Commissioner Edgar?
Here.
Commissioner Peterson?
Here.
The purpose of this work session was to discuss future agenda items for urban renewal. A number of you have brought up issues related to a number of items. One has been a strategy for the Blue Heron site. Another one has been the urban renewal plan and report and the list of projects in that report. And then the third item that we've heard is a process related to the Rivers project and the dissemination of information. And I'm sure there are some more, but those are the three that stuck in our minds.
Do we have? Are we using the prompter, the queue? Are we using the queuing or? Yes. Okay, just if people could use the queue. Commissioner Nacida.
Okay. I have one concern I want to express. We have a budget committee meeting scheduled before the end of the month, and I had very early on in January expressed that I didn't know why we were not having a goal-setting session and retreat for the Urban Renewal Commission. We had an Urban Renewal retreat my first 2 years on commission. I don't know why we didn't have one this year. I mentioned it, and now we're presented with a budget document without having had such a retreat. I mean, our city commission budget is based on a goal-setting process, and we didn't have that for urban renewal this year, and now we're being asked to adopt a budget without having had that process. My recommendation, since a budget doesn't have to be in place till the end of June, I'd like to have the regular urban renewal retreat and goal setting session, and then have the budget committee process after that happens.
Okay, there we go. Well, we don't have the staff for that, and we don't have the time to do it, and I don't know how we're going to get that from here. I would also like to suggest, though, that when the staff put this together, it is different than your city commission meeting and your budget for the city. And the assumptions that we made were that you have an urban renewal plan, you have a new urban renewal composition on the commission, so we assumed that you'd want to make changes. And I believe that the finance director and I and Dan all looked at this amount of money that you had that was discretionary. It was a very small amount of money that wasn't committed somewhere already. And so we thought, well, let's at least get the statutory requirements for the budget adopted, get the process finished. You still have that set amount of money, and you can amend your budget after that if you change your goals. And you're making policy at virtually every meeting. So I guess it was just a cost-benefit analysis, because I've never been involved in a city. I've been on a city manager in 3 states, and I've never seen an Urban Renewal Commission hold the same intense goal-setting and retreat process as a city commission. Essentially, it's if we are going to legislate at that level, we're just going to need a whole different staffing model to do that. But I think cities usually get by as best they can. They have work sessions and communications with their Urban Renewal Commission to try to figure out what the direction is after the budget is adopted. In an ideal setting, I think that would be great, what you just described, if we had a different capacity, I suppose. But I'm just trying to explain to you what our assumptions were. If those were wrong, we can make adjustments next year. We can make adjustments this year. We have advertised already the budget process, and it's going to cost some money and be a little bit of a burden on our staff to try to take a time out and start that over.
Would the budget amendment process require a reconvening of the budget committee?
No, I don't think so.
City Commission.
You don't believe me?
I
can explain that if you like.
The City Commission amends projects all the time throughout the year. That's
Right. This
What's-
commission could.
It's own
What's the
commission.
threshold, I mean, if you have an approved budget, what's the threshold for deviating and then getting approval from your authorizing body?
Well, I'd have to look at our policy to see what the transfer authority is, you mean, of the staff to transfer monies within the urban renewal budget? I'm not sure right now. I'd have to talk to our finance director about that.
Kind of obviates the need for a approved budget if you can just change it anytime you want.
I don't think so. It's state budget law. You have to have an adopted budget by a date certain. There is an amendment process that is required, but you don't have to reconvene your entire budget committee. The budget committee's responsibility is to review and approve the budget. It's not to review and approve all the amendments. So, unless it operates significantly different than the city commission, I don't believe that it does. But
Can you help me understand something?
Commissioner,
I'm not sure about the statement that we don't have the staff or financing to hold a goal-setting session. We have the same staff basically as the first 2 years I was on commission, so I'm not really understanding what's meant by that.
I just know I work 60 hours a week, and so does everybody else up here, and I don't know when we're going to do it. But we need to slow down. If you just look at the number of questions I get from commissioners in a given week, and you compare it to how many other tasks I'm trying to do, it's not sustainable. So if we want to be realistic about what our capacity is and slow down in some of these other areas, we could do that. But that's not what's been happening, folks. I'm just being honest.
I would also point out, we've got 10 other members of the Budget Committee, and they already know a date that the budget meeting is supposed to be.
And I'm certainly willing to change this next year. If you want to have a full-blown retreat, I think that's fine, but we do need to slow down. And
That's what I was going to
And-
suggest. Can we do it for next year? Can we combine the two next year?
it's just like working for two entirely different city councils for me. That's what it's like. And one's a handful. So I just...
Which one?
We can't vote, but we can get indication. Does anybody want to change the budget date, budget committee date? Or is there a majority of people that want to do it?
I think it's already been posted, and it's going to cost us more money, so...
How much more money?
You know, I'm being put on the spot here on a lot of these things. I'd have to ask Mr. Wimmer what we spent advertising our budget already. We just have to re-advertise and set the date. And I just wouldn't want to commit until I talk to him first.
I say we carry on with the date we have in mind.
Right.
Commissioner Edgar?
I have some issues that I've been hoping to be able to bring forward as future agenda items, one of which is, many of them affect the budget themselves, but one is critical to me, and that's the resetting the maximum level of indebtedness that's now set at $30.1 million as identified here. I would like to see that rolled back significantly, and I know that has major effects in a lot of things, and I also, when I found that Dan Drentlaw is being moved over to be expensed against the Urban Renewal District, I believe that is a budget item, and it needs to be fully understood and discussed out as to whether or not the skill sets and everything that's necessary could not be better achieved through a contract person with greater experience and knowledge and connections for equal dollars, or is this the best deal? And it's part of the budget, and I think that the plans that are necessary, that are being floated around, that have been in place, these need to be really thought out and discussed, and a lot of this comes back into the budget. And maybe we go into the budget discussion, but maybe we don't get it resolved right initially. But we take an attempt at it, But what it boils down to is until we come back and understand and discuss out the pros and cons of different issues that are associated with the budget, it just may go on until we have full understandings and agreements among all of us.
We still have future agenda items? Is that
Yeah.
what we're at?
Commissioner Yates?
I have a future agenda item. I'd like to spend some time on this commission talking about Blue Heron and whether or not this Urban Renewal Commission has any interest in expanding and what the policy issues are with respect to that. I understand we own, the district includes part of Blue Heron site, a small part. So anyway, that seems kind of important and to put on the agenda at some point.
How big is the Blue Heron property?
It's 22 acres on the Oregon City side.
My understanding is we can increase the urban renewal district by 1% without a plan.
Without a substantial
Yes,
plan
it's
amendment.
about 6.5 acres.
Correct.
I want to ask Commissioner Smith, he had mentioned a suggestion to me a couple weeks ago. I just wanted to see if you wanted to bring that forward.
Bring what forward?
I think it related to bylaws and how we constitute the board.
I mean, I don't have anything, I haven't really thought about it fully to make a presentation or anything, but I guess part of my I guess agreement in having some sort of goal session originally was because there's a lot of topics that we haven't had a chance to talk about at all, and I think the boundaries of the district are one. I think the makeup of this commission is one. Certain positions on this commission are directly connected to individual neighborhoods. Does that need to be more neighborhoods in the city than just two? I don't know, but I think that there's enough topics about how this commission operates and that we have never really discussed in any sense. And part of the big debate in this town about voting on urban renewal was based on the fact that we have a lot of people in this city that don't feel we've spent urban renewal wisely. I believe that. I believe this building is a perfect example of that. That is what drove a lot of people to want to have a right to vote on it. I think there's issues on this commission that can be addressed in other ways than voting on everything that we do. But I think those need to be talked about. So I guess I'll leave it at that. It was kind of a broad discussion of how we operate in general.
Mr. Frazier?
I'd like to suggest that I think all the issues that Commissioner Smith brought up are very valid policy questions that the commission would want to discuss, and that the staff would greatly benefit from having a consensus from the board on how to proceed with those. And also the items, the Blue Heron item, the question about whether funding, the question you raised, I think, is a budget committee. When you discuss your budget, that's an appropriate place for that. So I'd like to suggest that you could have a goal setting that isn't dependent on budget timing. Mm-hmm. And that then takes because even if you tried to do that, Commissioner Nocita, and I know where you're trying to go, and I think that's a great idea. I was frustrated because I feel like I can't deliver enough. There's not enough of us to get it done in the time that we have. So I think you're more interested in doing that correctly than doing it quickly. And so if we just go ahead and proceed with the budget that we have scheduled, and then put this on the agenda, basically, set the agenda on what you want for a goal-setting discussion, And we'll have all of the items you raised and any others you can think of between now and then, and we'll set an agenda for a goal setting. We'll have a facilitator come, and we'll go through the process. And that might include, by the way, amending your urban renewal plan. I think one of you mentioned, well, how big is a major amendment? But you also have things in your plan that are projects. And you may want to look at those. Do we still care about these? Are they still important? I think that would be a good process, a healthy process, and it'd get our new group off here to a really good start. So I'd like to suggest that if you're open to it, we would try to schedule that.
What would be the time frame for these discussions? Would it be in May, June?
When we could actually hold the retreat, wouldn't want to commit to that just yet. But what I'd like to suggest is we have the discussion about what the agenda would look like, what you're going to try to accomplish, and then we get that on your next commission meeting. So you could send us ideas. That's much what we did when we did our city commission retreat. We said, here's some ideas we'd like to propose. What ideas do you have? And we got a lot of great suggestions. We brought them to the group, and then the group winnowed those down to a reasonable number, and we tackled them. So, if your folks are interested in that kind of a process, I'd like to suggest it.
Madam Chair, I made a list of 7 of issues that I would like to have as future agenda items. And if I could, I'd like to present them to you or have them disseminated out for review. These are just examples that I consider to be important to me.
How do we treat that with regard to the public record?
It's public record.
It's however, I know I can't email them out, so I got to give them to something.
If he wants to submit it into the record, I can take a copy of it and get it.
Okay.
Okay, yes, please.
Okay.
So what does the group think about an urban renewal policy and priorities work session, where we would really get all these issues out on the table, identify what they are, and then talk about a retreat, sort of a goal-setting experience?
That works for me.
Does that work for everyone? Is there anyone
Yeah.
who doesn't think that's a good idea?
I think it's a good idea. I'd like to suggest, even though you can't do a date certain, it'd be nice when we adopt our budget formally for the beginning of July. It'd be nice if we could have something in June.
Okay. We'll look for June.
Okay, I guess we need to wrap this up. Are there any other topics that we need to cover in the next couple of minutes? Anyone move to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Just to let the people know, the city commission is going to go into an executive session. I don't have the number, but I don't know if I have to announce it at this point.
192-662F.
Okay, so we're all leaving, but some of us will be coming back.
Okay, meeting is adjourned.